new here. I am the second speaker, I guess, away from adult beverage. Is that correct? Oh, hey, I get a. So maybe we can use a time travel machine here. So, first of all, thanks for joining this afternoon, and thanks for allowing me to spend some time with you. So I want to talk a little bit about high-dense venues. Another way of looking at a high-dense venue, at least from my way of thinking, is that it's typically going to be those stadiums, it's going to be those convention centers, it's going to be those airports next Wednesday, it's going to be the shopping malls on probably 6 o'clock Thanksgiving evening, and certainly on Friday. But it's anywhere that our customers, whether they be ours or anybody else's, is where they all congregate. And if you're like me, I've usually got 2 or 3 devices on me, and I'm usually using 2 of them at the same time. And I get upset when my devices do not work. Am I the only person that thinks that way? Well, let's move on. So how I'd like to kind of structure this today, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we at AT&T go about it. I want to talk a little bit about innovation. I want to talk a little bit about kind of where I see us going in the future. And if we've got time after that, maybe a couple questions. I have to be really careful today. I have corporate comms in the room from AT&T, so I have the filter on. Okay? All right. So let's go. So, already done that. So, here's the challenge. What happens when you've got 90,000 seats at a stadium and over half of them are your customers, and you have a network that doesn't serve them? Put it this way, it's not a real pretty picture, especially on Monday mornings after the network is not done well. So we at AT&T have made a great conscious effort to start to take care of that. And we have built a number of these out, gotten very, very good at it. They are neutral host, and they are beautiful. And so I want to share just a little bit about those. So, but before I do that, these numbers just continue to amaze me. 70% of us now have at least one smartphone. I gotta ask, who's got 3 or 4? Me too. I've also got to tell on my granddaughter. She's 4. Spent 30 minutes on the phone with her. She lives in South Africa, by the way. Spent 30 minutes with her on the phone on Sunday. Got all my Christmas shopping done for them, by the way, or the holiday shopping done. With the exception of a 4-year-old granddaughter who wants an iPhone 6. The big one. And I said, why do you need that? And she had a list. So this is a 4-year-old. Yeah. Guess what she's going to get in addition to the other things for Christmas? An iPhone 6. You're absolutely right. Okay. So, the other thing that astounds me is the fact that, 100 hours of video are being loaded up every minute. That is just amazing to me. That's just so out there. I don't know how to explain that, but I'm certainly glad. So you guys have heard me talk about the various items and technologies and methods and ways and means that we can build out our networks. So it can certainly be a macro, can certainly be a small cell, can certainly be a DAS, can be a micro, and I suppose if you wanted to, you could go a repeater. I think you guys have heard me say I'm not a real big fan of repeaters on numerous occasions. Still not a fan of repeaters for various and sundry reasons. But all of these have got to come together. They're in the toolbox. And we have to make great engineering decisions. There's not a one-size-fits-all in this business. I know there's some manufacturers out there would like to think that, yeah, there is one-size-fits-all, it is my product. Well, it's not the case, at least at AT&T. So, you guys have seen this before, and I showed this in HeadNet up in Chicago. You would not believe the number of calls that I've gotten on this slide since then. For those of you who've not seen it, it is doing a comparison of the coverage capabilities of various solutions. When we go in for permits into cities, and they always want to talk about, well, can you do this? Can you do that? Why don't you just do this? And I don't believe that, and this is through our own fault, our fault as an industry, we have not clearly articulated what the coverage is of devices that we place in the network. That's our own fault. We have not been clear and concise in talking in a language which everyone can understand, and that everyone can see the difference. So, for example, you got a macro cell, standard technical tower. I'm going to walk if you guys don't mind. Get my exercise up here. We got a little Fitbit challenge going on at the office. So, macro cell, typically going to handle about 500 customers at a time. In the flat country, and there is some flat Texas around here, the radius in which it's going to cover is going to be about 25 miles. Versus that femto cell that's going to have about 6 max users, you're going to cover out at .008 miles. So very small. Okay, very small coverage area. The other thing that we have to be aware of is capacity. So the best way that I can explain the difference, at least how I frame it up in my own mind, is this way. So you can have a lake that covers 25 square miles. Pretty good sized lake. If that lake's only got about that much water in it, you don't have much capacity. If you're trying to provide water and drinking water for a city, that's going to last probably all of about 15 minutes. Versus a lake that is 15, 20 foot deep. Now you got capacity if it's full. So that's the same thing it is in our business, in the wireless business. You can have coverage, but you still aren't probably delivering a great customer experience. You've got to have coverage, and you've got to have capacity in the network. One without the other gets you nowhere. You wasted your money. So, another one up here, and it's normalized. Look at the number of access points that you would need. So the macro cell is that little small dot right there, down here at the bottom. Look at Wi-Fi access points in the femto cell. You can visually see how many more of those that you would need. Okay? Now, near and dear to my heart is neutral host. Okay? So a neutral host DAS. Is everybody familiar with the concept of neutral host DAS? Okay? So, I am on a tear. Neutral host right or neutral host wrong? Let me tell you a little bit more about that. My belief, and the belief of AT&T, is this. For a neutral host DAS, all a carrier or wireless service provider, let's get our terminology right, all a wireless service provider needs to bring, if they choose to join a neutral host DAS, is their RF signal. They plug into the bulkhead, and away you go. Make sense? Everybody riding the neutral host is equal. You have some neutral host providers, and really kind of, I wouldn't say through any fault of their own, but they come in, they build a single layer, got one company riding on it, and then all of a sudden, and they're advertising it as a neutral host DAS, and then all of a sudden, The second and the third wireless service provider wants to join the DAS. Guess what they do? They go in and they put another layer in. And then the second and the third and possibly even the fourth wireless service provider shares that second layer that was just built. So you got one service provider riding the top layer by themselves, got a hell of a lot more power than the others that are sitting down here riding it together with three. When it gets out to the antennas, that's about the only thing in that shared network that all of us ride. So there is a difference in performance. That makes sense? Kind of scary. So neutral host right or neutral host wrong. AT&T's position on it is bring RF to the party. That's all you need for a neutral host DAS. Use it all. Ride all of the sectors. Ride the sectors you want. But that's a neutral host DAS. And I'm on a tear. You're going to hear me talk about this more and more. Maybe not today, but you'll hear it again. I've had enough. So, I think we're sharing these slides. Are these slides going to be made available? I don't know what that. Okay. So, when neutral host is done right, you have antennas, remotes, cable, neutral host head in. That is a beautiful thing. It's clean, it's neat, you don't have a whole heck of a lot of trouble with it. Make sense? Kind of simple, but hard to do. And expensive to do. But this is what it looks like. So it's going to bring the reasons for this. Okay, so all of you own a building. Can you imagine having that second layer coming in? And in some cases, you're going to have second, third, fourth, fifth antennas. Sometimes you can all ride the same antennas, sometimes you can't. So do you want that in your building? How many antennas do you want in your building? All clustered about the same place. How many remotes do you want in your building? Do you want 2, 3, 4, 5? Makes a big difference. Okay. And then when it comes to maintenance, who maintains all that? I want you to think about it. Okay? So, we'll talk a little bit about AT&T innovation. So, we have a little device. It's called an EchoBot. And as the slide says, if it thinks like an AT&T customer and it acts like one, it may be an AT&T customer, or it might just be an AT&T EchoBot. So the EchoBot is a device, and there's a picture of it down there if you can see the picture and find the bot, that sits out into the network. And it sits there and it just gathers up experience from the customer. We send case studies down to it. So whether it be video or whether it be images, whether it be voice, whether it be text, we can change up the experience or the test case that we're sending down to it. It also, during big events, and really 7x24, sets and just gathers data about how the network is performing. It's pretty cool. We've got it running in several stadiums and other big venues around the country. And in fact, we have it running out at AT&T Park in San Francisco. You guys know I'm a Cardinals fan, I hope. So I kind of missed out on the World Series this year. And of course, San Francisco, well, rightly so, beat us. And so they won again. But out at AT&T Park, during the World Series games, I wish you could have seen the traffic that was generated from those games and what traversed our network, both from a DAS perspective and from a Wi-Fi perspective. But through the bot and the data that was coming back through it, you could see that stadium swell when they score. You can see it whenever there's a great play. It displays out in front of you what happens and how the customers are behaving and what they're doing. It's an amazing thing. So you're thinking, okay, so what do you do with that data? Well, because it's mounted, it is static, it stays in place. We sit there and we can monitor the performance at all times in every sector of a DAS. Okay? So, pretty cool stuff. It's out. If you go out and look on it, you'll find it out on the internet. It's out on our innovation page at AT&T.com. So I encourage you to go take a look. So, with that, I'm going to show a video. And I want to go ahead and get that queued up. And if we got any time after that, I'll take a couple of questions. Okay?
We live in a world where mobile devices have become our way of life. They allow us to do almost anything, anywhere, at any time. They are our personal shoppers, our navigation systems, and our photo album. They help us keep watch over our homes, allow us to work while on the go, and stay connected with our families in real time. That's why it's AT&T's priority to always keep you connected. One of these methods is through our state-of-the-art distributed antenna systems. The DAS helps to provide a seamless wireless experience in areas where large crowds gather. Large crowds carry smartphones and tablets, which means more data crossing our wireless network. This skyrocketing demand for data drives a need for venue-specific wireless systems. AT&T deploys DAS where we live, work, and play. You can find them in your office building, your favorite team's sports arena, and at the airports when we travel. AT&T prefers to build neutral-host DAS, which are designed to support multiple wireless service providers. A DAS is made up of several critical components, including the primary equipment room that feeds several remote equipment locations. This equipment is supported by a 48-volt power source and reinforced with industry-leading DC battery backup that is there to make sure service is present even through a power outage. Remote units are usually hidden out of sight, above ceilings, or in closet space. These units can serve multiple antennas, which are connected by coaxial cable and strategically placed throughout a facility for optimal wireless coverage. These antennas help propagate our wireless network coverage throughout the location and help improve reliability, voice quality, and allow thousands of people to share their photos, texts, and posts. AT&T's Antenna Solutions Group was built with the customer in mind and consists of 4 different teams that are focused entirely on delivering an excellent customer experience. First, our business development group works with property owners to cover all the legal requirements and deliver an agreement for AT&T to design and install the DAS. Then, the DAS engineering team will assign an RF engineer to review design objectives and create a customized DAS design for the venue. The construction and engineering personnel work with certified partners to perform the installation of the DAS while keeping in close communication with venue owners, facility management, and tenants. A single point of contact will be assigned to each DAS project to help manage the entire installation from end to end. DAS projects can be carried out with minimal engagement from venue owners, but there are certain key items that are needed. A knowledgeable resource to help our teams understand the challenges of a venue, critical elements like the location of utilities, any special venue logistics, tenant management, and overall facility support. AT&T will also require an equipment staging area to store equipment and construction materials. Upon project completion, the DAS is handed off to AT&T's Global Network Operations Center, who will continue to monitor the system's performance. The AT&T GNOC is staffed 24/7 and will dispatch an AT&T technician in the event that service is impacted. AT&T is committed to providing the best wireless experience for today's mobile lifestyle, and DAS is just one of the ways that we continue to do that. We build our network to help everyone and everything work together. AT&T is mobilizing your world.
All right. 1 question, 2 questions, it's up to you.
I am sorry, but we are out of time.
That works for me.